sign it.
All right, there's no questions on the treasurer's report. Student representative report, I don't believe
No,
anything
we don't
is
have it
provided,
tonight.
they're off, so.
Just one thing, Priscilla, we will recognize our senior student council reps, and I will do something for them from the Board of Education. Unfortunately, we didn't get to, be with them as much.
Right. And I see him got the leadership award.
Yes, that's next.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's exemplary people programs and awards, Cape Student Leadership Award.
Yeah, I can speak to that. In your packets, every year CABE has an award that goes to a high school student and a middle school student. Actually, two high school students, I apologize. And this year, Emma Flaherty was selected, as well as Nicholas Santavasi, and they're actually wonderful students. And they're selected for empathy, concern for others, ability to work with colleagues, diplomacy, and capacity to make different decisions to support their nominations. So because we didn't have them, I typed up a letter for them, I sent them home their awards, and I just want to recognize them at the board meeting. And what I enjoy, a lot of times kids get selected for awards or marked for achievement or scholarships. These are two students that I know personally, which tells me they are wonderful selections and they're great representatives of the Board of Education.
Thanks, Michael. Region 16 Teacher of the Year, Daniela Giampatruzzi. Congratulations, I'm sure there will be events going on.
Can I speak to that for a
Sure,
minute?
go ahead.
So tomorrow, Elio Gugliotti from the Citizen News and Waterbury Republicans to meet with her at PES. They're gonna do an interview on site, they're gonna take some pictures. We forwarded her resume. Danielle's a wonderful candidate, and just for the record, I'd just like to read a couple things if it's okay.
Sure.
I'm honored to inform you Danielle has been named as the 2021 Teacher of the Year. Danielle has driven a set of high expectations for herself. She inspires colleagues to implement new strategies and practices. At her core is meeting students and staff at where they are while modifying and adjusting her approach to meet their individual learning needs. Daniela is a reading specialist at Prospect Elementary. She's a tremendous mentor and guide for teachers. Her ability helps strengthen the morale of teachers, and her positive energy and kindness makes us all feel we can be successful. So congratulations, Danielle, and we're fortunate to have you in Region 16.
Thanks, Mike. Moving on to the report of the superintendent, superintendent's update. Mike?
Thank you. I'll move around a little bit for this, and I don't want to read through the whole thing, but please stop me at any point if someone has a question or like. So I tried to be fairly extensive with my update. There were 14 items, as well as some additional administrative tasks that I am asking our leaders to perform. One thing I would like to start with, we've said it over and over again, food service has been amazing, amazing. District enrollment was down the average of 59 students. However, our lunch participation was up 4.3%, our breakfast participation was up 50%. From May 16th to May 31st, we served close to 40,000 meals. I also think there has to be a certain degree, all our staff has been amazing, but some people that have been spectacular have helped out at all levels, like Deb Flaherty, she's at the middle school, James Amato, yet they helped out with high school award ceremonies with teachers at the elementary schools. They were terrific. One thing, and I know we've seen a lot of videos and clips between scholarship dinners and everything, I think Kristen Langle and her department did a digital fine arts night. It was quite extensive, you had to go into it. It was fantastic. I was really surprised how they would pull it off, but it was really impressive. So I think those are just some of the standouts. I think our special education department, Sarah and Shelley, and then Gina and Susan in their office were terrific. I have to really give kudos to all the instructional aides and paraprofessionals in this region. About 99%, almost 100% of them have participated with students. They've created professional learning. They reached out to us and looked to help out with our students. We also have our reopening committee, an email will go out tomorrow. We have over 33 people on it. I originally wanted to keep it smaller, but it was really hard to minimize it because I think there are so many different variables, but I go into it. Our first meeting is going to be the 24th at 9 o'clock. It'll be a virtual meeting, and I will send that email out. We're also thinking about being district management group in as consultants to us. They're out of Harvard, I'm part of their organization. I think we're gonna wanna know nationally and what their advice, what best ways are to look at the infrastructure, the core, and how we're teaching students. Finally, something for the community. July 6th, we're gonna be opening our exterior facilities, not just for our schools, but use of facility forms. And on August 1st, we're gonna start our fundraising again. Now, Chris Decker's done a great job. Chris, myself, Derek, and Kurt had a meeting, and we're gonna be sending out a letter with some checklists for people. Coaches are going to be starting to do conditioning with kids. So we are gonna be opening again. Kids are gonna be going out on the 6th. We're gonna really try hard, though, to make sure that they're not socially gathering in a parking lot after. It's like adults and students are dying to be together. So we're gonna try to do our best to make sure we adhere to social distancing. Also, I have to really thank the administrators in the region. I'm calling on them to do some extra things this summer, because I think the closing and the opening of school is gonna be a little different. We're gonna be looking at our PPE and our school procedures for visitor and staff. Steve and Dana, Dr. Mulligan at high school, Steve Martoni are gonna help us with that. Steve's already started creating a spreadsheet. We're trying to inventory some hand sanitizers and stuff, and some masks, not knowing where that's gonna be. We're also looking at Board of Ed retreat, welcome back breakfast. I'm gonna work with Kurt and Derek on that. I don't know if we're gonna be coming back to PES with 400 people in the cafeteria to open school. We did send those out as dates, as placeholders, but that's kind of where we are with the update. So, you know, you could read through this. I'm available for questioning. We are gonna be calling on DMG to advise us with our reopening committee so that we have some options. But as everyone knows, we're gonna be looking at what the governor's recommendations are in the next 2 or 3 weeks, hopefully. Any questions? I don't wanna move too quickly through it, but there was a lot there. I didn't wanna have to read the whole thing to everyone.
Just quick comment, I mean, great for the National Junior Honor Society members. It seems like every year we have quite a big good number nationally compared to a good number from our district, so kudos. Last year, I think we had 10, if I'm not mistaken, and this year we have 6 compared to 500 kids nationally. It's a great percentage.
Correct. I'm gonna jump around a little bit. I'm gonna jump the revised assistant middle school principal job. As you know, we changed that to 10-month. I met with the union, and they're on board with it tonight. We did not have a personnel committee, but we have been talking about it before the budget. So I'm gonna be looking for the board to approve the new job description. Kurt is the president of the Administrators Union in Region 16, and they agreed with the job description. It needed to be updated anyway. It was back from 1998. So we changed it from 10 to 12. I'm going to be asking the board tonight to move forward with that. We also are restructuring the business department as we look at our new needs and where people are. I'm going to ask to table that because we haven't finished some conversations that we're working through, but I wanted it to have information for you. We're going to be moving that department a little bit. Donna's done a great job, Donna Hall. We've spoken to her. We're going to give her different responsibilities. We're going to create just an HR position, and we're going to look at some transition plans as we have some staff numbers that may be retiring in the next year or so. And with that being said, it's a department where you just can't have a hole. So we have to have a transition plan on how we're going to manage that department, especially now where medical insurance is complicated, where payroll is very involved, we're online. So I'm going to ask to table that. Tony, I don't know if you want to say anything about it, but we do want the board to know what the transition plan hopefully will look like.
Yep, I believe the board has the transition plan in their packet that gives an idea of what's happening. There's just been a couple variables that have been thrown into the mix that we need to kind of work through and deal with, before we move forward with our plan.
Any questions on anything at this point, or I'll keep moving through the updates? Okay. Elementary transition program, if you remember, you supported the hiring of a one-year position for elementary. And I have to thank Rima at PES, Regina, Michelle, and Jeff. I think we've hashed this out quite a bit, and I think we're very comfortable with the program, what we're offering. And, you know, what I'm happy about most is because it's a transition program for kindergarten and first graders, we will on a regular basis be evaluating kids. So they have the opportunity to graduate up as the year progresses. Because we feel some of these kids, if it weren't for the closure of 60-plus days, might have been able to attain the skills and be promoted. So we're gonna be every month looking at how our kids are performing. We're gonna look at their individual needs. They're gonna be in Bridges Intervention, WonderWorks Foundations, and we're gonna be able to have meetings with parents and kids and teachers on a monthly basis, say, hey, you know what? We're here 2 months, your child has met the expectations, and we're gonna promote the child or keep them in there for the end of the year. So I wanted you to know what that program looked like, and it took us quite some time, and I really do thank the board for supporting that. We have not decided where it's gonna be housed yet, at either PES or Laurel Edge. We're still working that through. We did post for the position. As far as alternative education, we're looking at revising the alternative ed because we might wanna, with our enrollment, which is really around 7 students or 8, we do have 3 students at the high school that are short a few credits. We're gonna have them work through alternative education and maybe finish before the end of the year. And we're also looking at some of our students who might have some social and emotional needs that might be addressed there. So the program is funded this year, but in the next couple of months, you'll see us changing what the program looks like and addressing the needs of kids differently. We have Shelley's department with Tom Fogey, who's our administrator there, and some of our counselors working through that as well. So I wanted you to know that that's coming down the pipe. We do spend a lot of money over there, and the state laws have changed on it, so we want to make sure that there's a serious return on investment for the region. Okay, with that being said, Steve, can you kind of summarize what we did in facilities for the team, and then Michelle, we'll wrap up after that.
Summarize, everybody got the Excel spreadsheet that was in the board packet. Probably about 20 items that we did from start of February on. The majority of those are wrapped up. Right now, we are in the process of painting the front entrance at Long River. The front entrance at Woodland will be done afterwards. We've got on here a couple of the circulator pumps for the boiler feed. That is finished. We're gonna talk about installing those next week. So we're in pretty good shape with the extensive list of updates that we did with the building. The tennis courts at Woodland are completed, they're painted, we have new nets, new
They
poles
look
that were put
great
in.
too, I said it before, they really look
It
spectacular.
really came out good. Chris Decker and myself are gonna do a walkthrough tomorrow, make sure everything's good with the tennis courts. The track at Woodland, they did a couple of repairs on Saturday. They're coming back later this week, maybe this weekend, to finish up doing a few more repairs on that. We're in pretty good shape with a lot of the updates that we've done in the schools.
Any questions for Steve or concerns? I just want to speak to one thing. Number one, Steve's done a great job. And Steve's fairly new in the position, and we've been working through things. And Tony and I had a conversation, and Steve's really acclimated himself really as well. I mean, Derek Muhiram says it all the time. I call Steve, he's there, he's working through us, you know. Principals say he's receptive and he's available, and that's half the battle. And it was also tough because we bumped up all his timelines and expectations with school closing, so he's been working double time. The other thing, though, I just wanted everyone to know, we did spend a lot of money, and we didn't anticipate it at Long River, but Eversource, I keep saying CLP, came in and started cutting down the pine trees.
Yes.
Because there's an easement over there, and they were affecting the power lines, and when they cut them down, I mean, I'm glad they're down, they made a mess, but it's not like we cut them down, we said, okay, we're gonna take all of them down, we're gonna take the stumps out, we're gonna redo the grade. They took like 8, left 4 before them, 4 after, they left the stumps, so we had to take the rest of the trees down. We then had to remove the stumps. Now we're gonna have to bring in soil so that we don't lose that bank and put ground cover in. So I just want people to know that We didn't decide all of a sudden to take all those trees down. They had an easement, they notified, it took us down. So we're still working on that. That's gonna be an ongoing project. And it looks terrible, and I know Bob Hiscock brought it to my attention, someone else. We are working on it, but it's a process, because the stumps were massive stumps, and they just left them in the other trees. So I wanted facilities, everyone to know that it wasn't us all of a sudden. I think in the long run, it's gonna work out well, because it was a problem over years with the pine needles.
It's gonna look better. They have pine needles, pine cones in the winter, so it's nice that they're out. It looks good over there, and once we dress it up, it'll be really nice.
But we didn't anticipate
No.
getting into that.
No, we didn't. That happened the end of the last year, December, so.
It was December 2nd?
Mhm.
Okay, great. Any questions before we move forward with our last item, which is the reading and math assessment? All right, so I'm gonna start, and then Michelle will wrap it up for us. We really struggled with this decision, and then we all together decided we were gonna move forward. And I'm thrilled, because we needed some data to talk about what our interventions needed to pick up on as we started, what students we thought we wanted to address. So Michelle, if you could just take a few minutes to tell us just a little bit about where we are, and understand that this is summative, but it was something that we wanted to do.
Absolutely. So as Michael indicated, as a result of the pandemic, Smarter Balance was not going to be administered this year for reading and math. So as he talked about, we really hashed this out in terms of trying to make a decision about wanting to identify where our students are in terms of their progress. And it was really an effort to be more responsive to our students' needs in the fall versus being reactionary, because in being responsive, we would be able to plan. So what we ultimately did is we utilized Standards Mastery, which is a tool from iReady that assesses students' mastery of specific standards both within reading and in math. And as you can see from the data that's provided, the first thing that stood out to me when I was reviewing this is that in reading specifically, we had 100% of our students participating in these assessments. Now keep in mind that this was an online assessment that students were taking at home. So we had significant support and participation from families and students. In math, we had well over 93% of our families participating. So as a result of having data, you can see, and as a note with Standards Mastery, the lower end of proficiency is 64%. So you can see in some content areas in either reading or math, we exceeded the 64%. For example, in grade 2 with PES and with Laurel Edge at 63%, almost there. And then in some instances, we were well below the 64%. So this is information now that we're using to identify strategies and structures that we're going to put in place in the fall to support our students' needs. And this work has already begun, where interventionists have met with teachers and we've begun to prioritize the grade level standards and look at our unit by unit and identify prerequisite skills that students will need to achieve success. So, it was an effort. I have to give huge credit to my interventionists and specialists, to classroom teachers, to the elementary and middle school principals for their support, because in the beginning it was quite an undertaking, but I think the information that we did glean from this data will be very important in our reentry planning.
I think one thing, Michelle, is credit needs to be given to the parents. For us to get 100% participation and almost 95,
Absolutely.
that's amazing. That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
And that's what we needed. And it was not for evaluation of an individual child. It was more for what we're doing academically and how we're gonna move forward.
Any questions?
Any questions for Michelle?
Any questions for
Anything else for Mike from the superintendent's update? Okay. If not, we move to action items. Action item number 1 is to act to approve new job description for 10-month assistant principal. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Roxy, move.
Christine, second.
Christine, second.
Any discussion, questions on the motion? Okay, no questions, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion passes. Action item number 2, act to authorize the superintendent to hire certified staff during the summer for the school year 2020 to 2021 as necessary.
So moved.
Right. Priscilla is the first, second.
Second.
Rob Dyer, second. Any questions, discussion on the motion?
Hire good people.
What's that?
I said hire good people.
I only have one to hire.
All those in favor, please say aye.
That's a good one.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion passes. Action item number 3, act to approve the SAT Prep 2020-2021 exemption.
So moved.
Priscilla first, is there a second?
Can you just explain?
We'll do that at discussion.
Okay.
Christine, was that you, the second?
Discussion?
No, he said second.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Christine, are you a second?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, discussion, questions?
I'd like to speak to it if possible.
Sure.
Generally, we have the PSAT test, which is board policy that dictates whether a student has to take the math or the English SAT prep, because we attempted a few years ago to increase score. Unfortunately, we didn't take the PSATs this year.
Right.
So we don't have a board policy that's applicable for 1 year only. So if you read the policy, and it says this is only for this year coming up, the class of 2020, who take the PSAT in the fall of 2020, score the required score of 530 on each section will be exempt. Otherwise, in English, if a student's enrolled in AP English Language Comp or ECE Writing through Literature, and student has created Algebra 2 honors with final grade of 90 and better, and is currently enrolled in parent pre-calculus honor, and parent permission, they will not have to take it, because we don't have the criteria of the scoring this year. So I didn't want to be negligent. I just felt like we wanted to eliminate any room for conflict with stakeholders if we didn't have a policy for this year only. So this is only a 1 year policy until we take the PSATs.
But this is a local Board of Education exemption, it's not a state exemption.
No, this is a Board of Ed policy presently, Robert,
Okay.
that we put in place 3 years ago. So we wanted to mandate kids who weren't achieving at the level we wanted, but we don't have that score this year.
Got that with you, thank you.
It's a great question. I knew I'd have to speak to it.
Any other questions on the motion? There's no further questions, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Motion passes. Action item number 4, act to approve Zakin Zemieski Sullivan CPA LLC as auditor for Region 16 fiscal year 2020 audit.
So moved.
Priscilla first,
Second, Roxy.
Roxy second. Any discussion, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody
Aye.
opposed? No opposition, motion passes. Action item number 5, act to extend additional school year 2020-2021 for milk contract with vendor Wheat Dairy Incorporated. Is there a first?
So moved.
So moved.
I'll take second.
Second, Christine.
Who was the first one?
All right, Priscilla first, Rob Dyer second. Any questions on the motion?
Just that this is part of our contract we signed July 17, 2019. We have a 1 year extension. We're basically extending contracts this year that we have it in rather than go. It's just a difficult process this year.
Okay. Any more questions on the motion?
Did they extend the pricing as well, so we're not paying an increase in due to distribution problems or anything like that?
I don't believe they did. Tony, did you hear that question?
I believe that Milk went up a penny per carton as part of this.
Penny?
Penny.
Okay.
Robert's good with that. Any more than a penny, it's coming out of someone's salary.
Any more questions on the motion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion passes. Action item number 6, act to accept Michelle Papa's letter of retirement.
So moved. I'd like to say that, but it is so moved with sincere thank you for her years of service.
Is there a second?
Second.
Rob Dyer, second.
Can I speak to that for a
Sure,
second?
go ahead.
Is that, she writes July 1, but isn't that June 30th, Tone?
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
So we'll accept it as of June 30th, not July 1.
That is the amended date.
Yep,
Yep.
okay, thank you. Any questions on it? Any more questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Okay, motion passes. Tony, Director of Finance and Business Operations report, you're up.
Thank you, Nazi. So as we discussed at prior board meetings, in our budget presentation, we've locked in Hampton at a 3.5% overall renewal for next year. We've also been advised that they're going to be issuing a 10% credit to us based on April's billing. That's 10% medical and 50% dental, Rebecca can see clarification on. And we did find out earlier today, actually, that the percentage that employees contributed to that will need to be credited back to them as part of this. Signed our contract with MedBill to audit our health insurance, the dependent audit. They did start that work last week, and that's going to be a $10,000 charge for that. It was really competitive pricing compared to some of the other vendors that we talked to, and I did receive some great reviews from Casbo on that company. Food services will continue to serve lunch until June 24th, leveraging the state SEMA summer reimbursement option. And as the superintendent mentioned earlier, we have extended some contracts this year. The snowplow contracts have been extended, as well as the landscaping service contracts for a period of 1 year. We did award the fire alarm bid to MJ Daily for the next 3 years.
Thanks, Tony. Just a quick question on the MedBill contract. I know you weren't here, but do you know from when we did the audit a few years ago if there was a charge or what the charges were?
There was a charge, Navi. I don't know what it was, but I can certainly find out for you.
Yeah, just curious, no big deal. Thank you, Tony. Any questions for Tony? All right, no questions, we'll move on. Any old business? Any new business?
New business with items for board agenda. I think we should probably combine these two categories, but there's a few things. The business office restructuring, I'll provide the reopening update, and we'll continue to do facilities updates at those board meetings. So I'm gonna put these 3 items on throughout the course of those are items I know we wanna keep staying on top of.
Through the chair, if I may, I have a question that maybe we can put under new business. And forgive me if this already happens, because it's my first year here, but we do a superintendent's evaluation, the superintendent does administrator's evaluations, administrators do teacher evaluations. I was wondering if there's anything in place where we as a board could get maybe possibly some feedback from the administration as far as, is there ways that we can better help support them? Are there things or suggestions that maybe we can weave into our board goals?
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
We usually have a board retreat and an administrative retreat. I canceled them because I didn't feel like we wanted to do a retreat for 6 hours online. But if the board wants to come up with some survey questions I'll refine them, add some, and give it to administrators. You know, or I can Google, it's up to Priscilla, Nazi, and you guys, but I'm happy to do something like that.
I think that it would be good to get some anonymous feedback from, from them to see if there's ways that we can better support them as a board. And maybe some of them coincide with our goals, or we can craft our goals to accommodate some of that.
Priscilla?
I have no problem with it, but I don't want a million questions, like maybe 5 or 6.
We're gonna have to have you come here once everyone's healthy, and you could do the survey here in our office. We'll read it to you, and we'll put in your answer.
Okay.
I'll call Cave as well and see if they have a survey, if Cave has one.
Fair enough, thank
All
you.
right. Thanks, Jeff. Any other items to add? All right, information items you have in your packet, the CAVE Liaison newsletter, and the final school closing requirements for the 2019-2020 school year. Any questions on any of those? All right, moving on, committee reports, Personnel and Negotiation Committee.
We're gonna hopefully be meeting, if you could put these as placeholders, 7:15 at 5 PM and 2:28 at 6 PM for UPSU negotiations. And I'll confirm those
Seven.
tomorrow.
I'm sorry, but what was the second one, 7:28?
Yes, at 6 PM.
Both the district office.
Correct. We'll do it here, so
Okay.
everyone will come.
Okay.
We'll try to figure it out. Social distancing. If anyone is not comfortable coming, we will have you call in.
Okay, so we could come in though if we
Yes, yes.
Tuesday, loosen it up a little with how many people could be there?
We'll be okay.
Yeah, we
have
should be
enough room.
okay by then, stay 6 feet apart.
Okay, you said 5:30 on the 15th?
No, 5 o'clock on the 15th, because we have a
5.
board meeting, so I'll have food for us after, and 6 o'clock on the 28th.
Okay, I got it.
Thank you.
Thanks. Facilities and Transportation Committee, we had a meeting today, prior to this meeting. Steve and Mike provided updates as well, and was presented to the board as well, to the Facilities Committee. So any questions on the facilities? The HVAC project seems to be going very well with the timing, and other projects going on due to the closure that we're able to get done sooner. So any questions on the facilities? Curriculum Committee meeting scheduled for July 15 at 6:15 PM. Mike, is that enough time between the
Yes.
5 PM?
Yeah, we should.
All right, so curriculum.
That might be
No,
tight.
wait, Nas, we had technology tonight, that's
No,
canceled.
I'm talking about curriculum.
Oh, on the 15th, I may have to, well, they're different committees.
I know, but it's.
Yeah, but that's gonna be tight.
Well, yeah, but they're different members, I think.
No, I'm on both.
Yeah, you got.
All right, I'll move that meeting, I'll move that meeting
Okay.
meeting to August. Thank you. Or we may need to
Well, I mean,
spend,
if you want, you could probably move that curriculum meeting earlier, because Christine's not working, she said, for the summer. You could probably move it earlier.
we could also have it on a different date, so we'll figure that out. Christine, we'll call you. Michelle Rayner, I'll have her call you. You guys set it up. You could even do it on like a Tuesday. It doesn't necessarily have to be on our Wednesdays, because we're not coming in.
Okay.
Okay, good thinking.
Thanks. Policy Committee, Public Communications. Technology Committee, we had a highlight review from Matt or before this meeting, just on technology, just with update. And thank you to the staff and all of the support that was done on technology with the remote basically learning and all of the support that was provided.
Yes, that was a job very well done by Matt and his entire technology group.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Recognition Committee. Liaisons, any questions on any of the schools? I know with TUCOM, we'll probably have to find a replacement for Nelson, so
I
we'll
have a
work on
couple
that.
ideas.
Somebody should reach out to Matt Como, he might be interested.
Yeah,
He runs it. That's the secretary of the committee, Nelson appointed him. He's mad about
He's
that.
already in.
He's a wonderful guy.
He is great.
He's a wonderful person.
Parent Advisory Council, any questions on that? Any updates?
Nothing, we'll meet again. Most of those, they were asked to be on the reopening, and some of them have joined.
Great. All right, anything else before we adjourn?
Now, you're gonna adjourn, hang up, and call back.
Call back to the, now the executive.
So you're not adjourning, you're going into executive session.
Executive session.
So we're not adjourning. You gotta make a motion.
To go to executive
May-
session.
Yep, you got it.
Hey, can I just interject for a second? We're gonna make a motion to go into executive session. The motion will be made, and then after executive session is made, we're gonna close out this meeting, everyone's gonna call back in with Matt, and then we're gonna leave the room, and then Najee, just let me know what time you end, and who made them, and then who ended it, okay?
Okay.
So we need a motion to go into executive session.
Make a motion to move the board into executive session for the purpose of discussion of the superintendent of schools evaluation for the 1920 school year.
All right. First by Rob, a second.
Second.
I'm sorry, who was that, Priscilla?
Yep.
Priscilla.
Okay, any questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? The motion passes. Can we just take like a 5-minute break? So we'll come back, it's 8:40.
Well, call in, just call in though.
Yeah, call
Yeah, I'll
back.
get the number running
Start when
first,
you
and
wanna
then you
start.
can
So
do
we'll
it.
start
Like a
about
real 5-minute break
7:50.
or like a?
Like my 5
Like a
minute break.
Michael
We're done with
Yatta
that
break.
before.
Let's do 7:50, we'll come back.